Hello and welcome. This is the second day of August 2018. My name is Derek. This is the crypto day morning. Like always, all trades, bets, and of the like, always within one's and own's risk reward. For risk reward management is always job number one. And I'd like to add that word risk because when they say, oh, blah, blah, blah is risky. Okay, that's on a losing situation. In a winning situation, it's rewarding. And thus, if you were to make a bet at even odds at something that is much greater than 50%, you're going to lose some, but you're going to lose less than what you win in long term. That would be a profitable situation. Okay, enough about that. The daily chart for Bitcoin remains with price action above a newly rising 18 average. So it's filling some of this empty space. There's still a long ways to go up to the previous high of 8,400 and change. The 18 average of lows rising currently set in at 67.12. So let's take a look at the 67.12, and it's just rising, so it's going to be like 68 as we move into the next little while. As far as any short-term support, where I'd be looking for where it came from, 7,050 is an interesting spot, as that was the level of resistance on the August 28th and August 29th. There was also resistance on the 31st as well, which we can see here amongst the 3 hour. What do we see after it showed strength amongst the 18 average of highs? There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 periods in which it just stayed above it. That's a show of strength, or a tell of strength, a symbol, an indicator. And sure enough, 2 green candles up along with this one to the high. Whether the move is over and there's going to be price correction from there, not too sure, but sure enough, that pattern did bring another leg higher. Within the 3-day term time frame, the price action amongst the 18 average of highs is barely above such, and after it failed big time, did not find support at the 6,700 and change level, it didn't resist much for the 18 average of highs. It did a little bit, but it maintained higher lows, and with the exception of August the 20th, every single day since the August 14th bottom has brought in higher lows. Each day's lowest price for the day has been higher every day since that one. So since the price action on August 26th came up to this 18 average of highs, a little bit of a pause period where it just digested the gains, just doing a little bit of nothing, now breaking out above the 18. Thus, if it has further momentum, it would be more of a clear, noticeable break, 74, 7,500-ish or so, and then a look towards getting up to the previous high and even further than that, breaking it out. And in the situation of a move up to this level, it would bring a double bottom pattern, which is a bullish situation or another bullish pattern. That's basically 2 U's or 2 V's, and it has to finish it off or get to the neckline, which is between the 82.77 and that of 84.75 range. Really not much to go over. Altcoins, generally speaking, for the many days, so the last few days have been doing relatively well. A lot of them have been declining over the last many hours. And Dash really gives me a perfect example of the crypto market, which has been basically straight down since the January highs. And the January highs is several months ago now, close to 7. And straight down, there was the April Fool's rally. In this case, against Bitcoin, Dash went from 420 change up to 580 change. And now for the second time, on the 3-day time frame anyway, since the top, the price of Dash is getting above this 18 average, we look at such against the daily term time frame. This was the one big day, and then there's going to be moves like this that happen often. It goes from 211 up to 260. And a little bit of sideways move, like higher. Now a red candle moved down, still well above the 18 average. So it's having a short-term correction. And 3-hour time frame, this is something that's went from 330 now down to 287. Or no, excuse me, 315 down to 280 and change. So down about 10%. And of course I'm using Dash, which is going to be usually less volatile than some of the less common ones or less traded ones. One of them being Redcoin, currently priced in at 50 Satoshi. It was up to 63. So it's down 13 on such, so that's 20% just from this high to where it currently stands at. This is the 3-hour time frame. For myself, I sold at 45 here. Then I bought it back at 38. Right there. And then I end up selling at 43. And I'm not going to draw them in after this, but I sold at 43, 48, 51, 54, 57, 60, and that of 63. So I've got quite a few different sales. I've got 3 buybacks already. I bought back at 55, 52, and 49 as far as that situation. Because that's basically what I'm looking to do. And it's a way of gaining altcoins, gaining Bitcoins, so on amongst the like. Because if I'm able to sell at 63, and of course the next buyback on that would have been 55, that's a differential of 8 basis points, so it's better than 10%. And how one plays these games, you can play these games for 1% and 2% moves if one chooses, because if the rake is low enough, and I've seen it as low as 0.0 or under 1/10 of 1%, 3/4 of 1/10 of a percent, 0.0075%, I think, or 0.075. It's low, and that's on the Binance exchange. Poloniex, you can get 0.1% as a maker, so you can make lower trades as far as volatility. But the thing about the crypto space, you can play for bigger gains, and I've now changed the chart to DGB. It has went from 473 down to 433, so that's a 10% reduction just over the last few hours amongst its chart. But when we go to its daily term time frame, 643 down to 350. So if you're able to sell, say, 581, and then if you buy back at, say, levels like 400, that would be a differential of like 180, so 30+% down. So if you're selling 1,000, you can buy back a lot, an okay amount more. But the volatility that this thing has, just looking at this overall, like last year, 84 up to 853. So if you sell at 853 and buy back at like say 329, if you sell, you can get more than double back, and do that at the exact same cost of what you spent. Or this is what I like to do at different times. If you're say, we're to say it, sell at 800 and change, buy back at 400, buy back maybe 30 or 40% more than what you had, and it would cost you less. Thus, you would get free extra coins, and that of free Bitcoin in this case. And when it comes down to it, I'm expecting there to be a time when we get back and we can start to have some interestingly good moves. And this one here went up from December up to January, 1 month, and it did its 10x move. And a situation where if a 10x move happens again from 350, you're talking about going up to 3,500. Something it was relatively close to back in the spring of last year, where this thing went up from like, well, it was at like really, really cheap. It got down to like 20 or so Satoshi. And then it goes up to over 2,500. So amongst this game of cryptos, there are going to be wild moves that occur when they're ready to do so. I'm not stating that now it's ready to do it, but it might be. And if it is, I'm going to be getting a lot of sell orders that will occur. But how I like to play coins that I think are going to go really high is, say for example, I'm selling for that of a 7% gain from my last trade. I'm only going to sell about 3 to 4% of what I own. And then if I keep doing that, that means when I get to the higher prices, I can have a decent amount worth of coins worth more in Bitcoin than they would be today, not counting, of course, the trades that would make me Bitcoin along the way with all the sell orders. But with the choppy action, if I can get to spots trading at 7% moves where I can say sell 500 or whatever, and I can pick up, say, 525 on a buyback. So that would be plus 25 coins, and I do that like many a times over, then that helps me get free coins that I'd be using to sell up here. Because if I ended up, say, selling at, say, 500, and I'm looking to buy back at, say, 460, and let's just assume I sold 500, bought back 525, well, I'm going to look to sell 500 again. And then if it goes back down, I'm going to be buying 525 again, so I'll make another 25 if that retracement comes into play. And the more of the little scalps in the short term that I myself can get with, and this is with all coins that and I'm doing this with like 9, 10 different coins this way, that I'm going to increase the amount that I have to trade for the larger gains. Dash, on the other hand, is, which I've already looked at, it's different for me. I'm just trying to gain Bitcoin on this. So if something were to go up for, say, a 25% gain, I'm going to want to look to sell close to 20% of what I own. For if one unit goes up to 1.25, it would be a 25% gain. So 1 to 1.25. And if I were to take 20% of 1 1/4, well, that would work out to that of 0.25. And that would bring, if I subtract that off, that would bring it back to 1. So in a market, if a price action goes up 25% from, say, where you buy, if you sell 20% of your holdings, then at that moment, the value of your holdings will be the same as it was after you buy it. And of course, you're withstanding your trade, but the whole point of it when trading like this is to gain as much Bitcoin as I can. That's practically all that I'm trying to do. Now, one thing Dash is pretty interesting for doing is, say, for example, I want to do something like buy precious metals or even buy a bunch of different things. I can do that with Dash, at least at silvergoldbull.ca, and as of a few months ago. I haven't bought off them in months. I'm hoping to soon if the cryptocurrencies will cooperate to such, but the market's obviously going to do what it will end up doing. And then you can just end up doing things, well, if I want to buy blah, blah, blah with Bitcoin, but it's going to cost me, say, 50,000 Satoshi of Bitcoin to transfer it, say, from an exchange to a hardware wallet, for my case, where this is where I would be buying from. And I can send it to that, and then I can make my purchase via Dash. But just something just something of note that Dash is a case use coin. And thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great day. Bye-bye.